Since the beginning of lockdown, I've been speaking to many people, and speaking to many people in particular involved in music and in entertainment. The next artist I'm speaking to is one of Ireland's leading artists. He's performed in numerous other countries as well. He started at a very young age. He was, I suppose you could say, a child prodigy, and since that it's gone on from success to success. An incredibly talented singer, songwriter, performer, and I think at times possibly an actor as well. I'm delighted to say a big hello to the one and only Michael English. Michael, how are you?
Hello, Jerry. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much for speaking to me today. It's great to be on.
A real pleasure, Michael. A real pleasure. You've had, when you look back now, you've had an incredible career in music.
Well, I suppose, Jerry, I've been lucky, to be involved in music, I suppose, as a child, as you said there in your introduction. Yeah, I've been very lucky with the people that I've worked with, and the musicians and the people in the management roles and record companies. So I've always worked with great people, and it's down to them as well. It's down to all of the musicians and people in the office that keep the wheel turning. And so yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I'm still enjoying it, and looking forward to getting back when the time is right.
Indeed. But in there you didn't mention, one sort of vital ingredient in the whole thing, which is talent. You gotta have the talent, in all fairness. I know that the rest is important.
Well, I suppose everybody has a talent, whether it be in music or whether it be in painting or whether it be doing whatever. Everybody has their own unique talent, and God gave us those talents to go out and use them. And that's what I did. I suppose I honed in on the music from an early age, and I always thank God and for the talent that He gave me. But yeah, I suppose you have to have talent, you have to have drive, you have to have focus, you have to have interest, and you have to have a love for what you do. And I do all of those things. I love everything about the music business, and I count myself very lucky, I suppose, to be able to have a career or a job or whatever the title you put on it that I love. And I do count myself very lucky that I can get up in the morning and I can do something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm lucky to be able to do that. All right.
Indeed, that's excellent. I must say you've been managed by some giants in music, like from people like Henry McMahon, a legendary songwriter and entertainer and musician, through to Louis Walsh.
Yeah, that's right. As I said, I've been very lucky to work with great people, and I really mean that. I've often listened to your radio program. I heard the interview with Henry McMahon that you did. It was a great interview, and PJ Murray as well, a great friend of mine. I heard that interview. But yeah, I was very lucky, I suppose, particularly when I was starting out, to meet such a giant, as you rightly put it, in Henry McMahon in the music business. Henry not only was a thorough professional, he was a gentleman to work alongside, and I suppose he guided my career from a very young age. He wrote my very first record, The Nearest to Perfect. He launched the band with me, so he was there from the very beginning, and I have an awful lot of thanks to go to Henry. And then yeah, I was managed by Louis Walsh when I was with Sony, and Louis guided my career through another path, and I was very thankful to him for all that he did for me as well. And I got to travel further afield, I suppose, and do things that I had never done before or never thought I would get the opportunity to do. And then right up until the last 6 years, until the present, Paul Claffey manages me, and Paul has done a fantastic job, and everybody that works for them in the office, Bernie and Damien, Denise, and everybody down there, they do a fantastic job now, and more so than ever. During this lockdown, they're trying to keep things going with recording and new ideas and new ways of doing things through social media and all of that kind of thing. So they're great people too. They manage my career very, very well, and I'm very thankful to all of those people right from the very beginning, from Henry McMahon to Louis Walsh to Paul Claffey now. I've been very lucky, without repeating myself. I've just been in the right place at the right time, and you often hear that phrase used very much. But I firmly believe in it, that I was always so far that I was always in the right place to meet the right people and good people. And there are many good people in the music business, and I was just lucky, I suppose, to have met so far some of the great.
Indeed, indeed. Now, you recorded. It was a truly mammoth task to do. Actually, quite early on in the lockdown, you wrote the song "Come Sing with Me," and you managed to get an incredible amount of singers. And they
Mm.
each and every one of them doing it remotely. It was truly a mammoth task.
Well, it was, I suppose, in before the lockdown. One of the advantages of the lockdown, if you like to put it that way, is that everybody was at home and everybody was free and available. You know, normally in our everyday lives before this pandemic, people would be doing lots of things. They would be traveling, they would be touring, they would be going up the highways and byways of Ireland, recording and shows and everything. But the one thing, when the lockdown came in, um, everybody was at home. So although it was a huge task to get everybody together, everybody was available, which was a huge advantage. And we came home. We had been in America, in Mexico, a couple of weeks before the lockdown, and then we did a week in Ireland, and then we went to Scotland, and we were on tour in Scotland. We were in Inverness on the Saturday, and I called in all of the band and the crew into the room, and we sat down, and we decided collectively, looking at the news bulletins, that we should go home. And so we came home after the show the next night in Arbroath, and we went down through Belfast, and came down here home to where I live in Kildare. And I closed the door on the 15th of March, and I suppose I've been more or less here ever since. But the song, I suppose a couple of us in the music business had chatted about, everybody seemed to be doing great things for different causes, and for everyday people, just helping in whatever way they could. And although we couldn't come together physically, we came up with the idea that maybe a couple of us would come together virtually and record a song that might give a bit of comfort and help people through music, through the situation that they were in. So we searched around for a couple of songs, and then a couple of the people said, why don't you write one? Why didn't I write one? So I sat at the piano, and I came up with "Come Sing with Me." And I suppose during the time that I was writing it, in the very early stages of the lockdown, looking at the news bulletins 24/7, it was about all the people who were on the front line and helping all those who were less fortunate than ourselves, and people who were very sick and dying. And my heart went out to them all. But I also wanted to remember what I like to call the silent hero. The word hero had been used a lot, and rightly so. But I wanted to remember the silent hero, that I like to call them. They're the people who you won't see on the news bulletins, or the front page of the newspapers. And sometimes we forget about those people who were getting up every morning and leaving their families, maybe to just go down the road, and whether it be delivering dinner through a window, or knocking on the window to see that somebody inside was okay, maybe the elderly, or people living on their own, especially. And all of those people, I didn't want to forget them. So I thought we would focus the song at those people, and pay tribute to those people. So that was the idea. And then I sat down at the piano and wrote the song. And then I thought maybe there would be five or six of us would sing it. Of course, we had to do it remotely from our own houses, without ever even opening our front doors to go out. But then it was like a snowball effect. Other people started to get on to me, and they spoke to other people. And all of a sudden, there were almost 50 people from not just the music business, from all walks of life. And that's, I think, what made it special. That it wasn't just the music business. There were actors in there. There were people from the sports, very well known people, of course, and faces that people would remember and know. And so it was a wide spectrum of all walks of life came together from their own homes. People like Patrick Bergen, the actor, the great Hollywood actor that we're very proud of here in Ireland. He led the introduction. People then from, of course, my own side of the music business. Too many to mention. I hate mentioning too many people because I always leave out somebody, especially when there was 50. And then, even the musicians, people in the studio, everybody just seemed to come together. And it's remarkable that the video was recorded by everybody on their phone or their iPad, both audio and visual, to make this possible. So I have to thank all of those people who came together. They were fantastic, and they all got it done. I think I wrote it on a Friday night, and we had it released on the following Tuesday. So it has been a great project. And when I started it, I hoped that it might reach out to a few people, as I said, that were living alone, or people that were helping those people, or people who were elderly that needed a bit of comfort. But in the first week, we had over, I think, 150,000 people that sat down and viewed it. And now it's probably well over 750,000. So while I wanted to aim at that, a few people, I never thought that, that amount of people would sit down to view it. And I suppose normally in the music business, you're thriving to get a record to keep touring or to get a little bit of success. But this record was primarily focused on giving people a little bit of comfort, giving people a little bit of support, and it certainly seems to have done that anyway.
Certainly has. I think when when eventually all this is over and people look back at it and people speak about the various songs which came out of the pandemic, your song will go down in history as a truly iconic song from the lockdown and the emergency. Truly incredible achievement. Well done. By the way, there's some you've got a legion of fans who would like ask me to say hello to you. Stephen Kelleher wanted to say how he enjoyed your weekend in Mullingar in February. Looking forward to so many of the dances, but not happening. And looking forward to hopefully seeing you in Portugal on the next trip in Spain or whenever that will be. And also the McWilliam and Claire Morris.
And thank you. Stephen is a great guy, and I know he hasn't been too well, but lately. But we're all hoping and rooting for Stephen. He's a great young man, and his name pops up very, very often. When I'm driving to Mayo, I often to record my television show. I often hear Stephen's name even on Midwest Radio requesting my music. So thanks very much, Steve.
Right. Also, Alice Walsh wanted to say hello to you, and she's looking forward to the dancers returning.
Alice is a great person down in County Cork, Alice and Tom. And they're an example of the many people who come to the shows, both the dances and the concerts and the musical that was going to happen, and the theatres and the churches and all those people who come to the shows. Alice is a great example of those people that we hold dear to our hearts. They're very, very special people to us, and I don't just say that because I'm on the radio, but they are. I think the Irish music business and the country music here in Ireland especially has a legion of fans that seem like one big family, and we know most of them anyway, if not all of them, and we know if they have a certain family a wedding or a party, or if the dog has died or something like that. We know everything about them, and we keep in touch with them, and likewise they keep in touch with us, which is fantastic, particularly now through these uncertain times, I suppose. It's great to be in touch with all of those people, and my heart goes out to all of the dancers especially, because it was not just when you went to a dance, it wasn't just like going to a dance. It was meeting up with friends, and it was particularly, I know I mentioned people living on their own, but for people like that, it was an outlet. It was for people to go and socialise with other people and become friends, and we miss all that terribly.
Indeed. That's something that all singers say. They miss the people. The two more people is actually Maureen Kelleher and Sinead Kelleher. They enjoyed the dance. The last dance which was on the 8th of March in Allingham, and
That's right.
believe that was actually your final one. They wanted to say hello to you also.
Well, thanks very much, and for getting in touch, girls. I know them too, and the Allingham, a great venue. And please God, we'll be back in the Allingham and Bundoran and Donegal before too long.
So tell me, what have you been doing? I mean, I know you've been doing some things on Facebook over the lockdown period.
Yeah, well, I suppose I like to be a positive person, Jerry, and not get too down about this whole situation. Like, God knows we never thought, I never thought, I don't think anybody else ever thought that we would be in this situation. Particularly, I know there are all walks of life affected, but I suppose the music business has been hugely affected and probably one of the last businesses probably to come back. But since the lockdown, I mean, first and foremost, I came home on the 15th of March, and I have to be honest and say that I didn't mind the first 2 or 3 weeks, even the first month, because I suppose we had been touring constantly. I mean, I never really took a break. We might take a week maybe here or there, but whenever, maybe a week in the year, 2 weeks maybe in the year, but whenever we took that week, even in the year, I would use it, and not to really go away, but to spend time with my family, all right, but to record more and to write more, and I was always seemed to be doing something. So when I came home here in March, I have to admit that the first month wasn't too bad. I enjoyed the first few weeks certainly as a break, but then I said earlier I like to be positive and to keep going, and that's all I could do, and the only way I could do that from my home was really doing some interviews, doing some writing, which I did, and I am doing. I try to go on Facebook as much as I can. I mean, in the early days, I thought the pandemic might last for 2 or 3 months or 4 months or whatever. And so I started by going on every day. But after about 2 months or 2.5 months, I started to run out of songs to sing every day. So I extended, or I took a break in between each time I went on. I am going on today, later on, to do another video. I try to do as many as I can and say hello to as many people as I can through that. And then I do my television show. I do that weekly, and I can go to Mayo now to do that again. And I'm on Sky Channel 376, of course, Spotlight TV, which is a great country music channel. And I'm on there every Sunday at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and Monday at 11 p.m. at night, and then Wednesday at 12 noon. So that kept me busy. So between writing and I'm able to do a small bit of recording now, the television show and Facebook. That kept me going as much as I can on the music front. But then I suppose I got to do an awful lot of things more that I could never do before. Things like the garden. I recently moved to a new house in December, and it was a brand new house, so the garden wasn't the best, I suppose. So I spend a lot of time out there. I never thought I would ever have green fingers, but it keeps your mind occupied, and I spend a good bit of time in the mornings, early mornings. I'm an early riser. I get up about maybe 6:30, and I spend the early part of the morning there. And then my family, I couldn't in the early part of the lockdown, but now I get a chance to see my family more than I ever did all through the years in the music business. And my parents, I still have my parents, thanks to God. And my father is in great health. My mother hasn't been in good health for a long number of years. And she has, I suppose, been unfortunate the last couple of years. But it's great to be able to go down there. I've learned to cook now, Jerry. I won't say I'm Michelin star chef or anything, but I've learned to cook more than I did. Normally, I would be on the road and I'd be calling in somewhere for a bite to eat, or if I came home, I might manage a stir fry or something healthy like that. But now I've mastered the bacon and cabbage. My parents love bacon and cabbage and roast chicken and stews and all of that kind of thing. So
Wow.
I've mastered, well, as much as I can, those, and I delivered the dinner 3 times a week to my parents, and I have two great sisters who do it the other days. So I do that as well. And then at night, I was never a television person because if I watched a series that was on every night or every week, I might see one episode and then I'd be playing. I mightn't see another episode for a month. So I lost track, so I could never get involved in anything like that. But now I watch a small bit of television for an hour, maybe at night time. And then it's back to the piano to write. And it's all about music, really, I suppose, at the end of the day. Whatever form we can dream up and whatever new plans we can think of, especially through this time, it's still about the music and it's still about writing and trying to come up with new ideas.
Well done on the on the whole lot of it, on the cooking and also the garden. I've actually spoken, Michael, to so many singers, and I'm convinced after all of this that there are so many singers who are going to have some of the best gardens in the world because they've spent so much time with so many. It's unbelievable.
Well, now my garden is not very big, so I can keep it as well as I can. Another thing I do actually as well is I suppose when I was in the music business, I was going so much. I mean, we were playing 5, 6, 7 nights a week, sometimes 8 shows in the summer because we were doing afternoons and evenings, that kind of thing. And so I was always very fit, I suppose, or relatively fit anyway. The one thing about the lockdown in the early stages, I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't even go really for even a run or anything. So since the restrictions have slightly lifted, I've started a new regime of fitness without over exerting myself now. But I do walk or run in or about 12 or 13 miles a day. I also do a bit of training, a small bit now, in the house here. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder or anything like that, but it's just something to keep your physical well-being good for when we come back, and more importantly, it's good for the head as well, I suppose.
Of course, of course. Now, another thing is you've been gently introducing on Facebook a very talented niece, Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla is my niece, and she's my sister Olivia's and John, her husband, their daughter. And she's 16, and she loves music. I mean, she's obviously still in school, but she loves music and I think she would love a career in music. Something that I'm obviously interested in, even though I always advise her, or anybody I'm talking to, particularly young people, it's a great business to be in. There are great people in it. You need a lot of things. I suppose you need a bit of luck and a bit of things to go your way. And I always say it's good to have a second string just in case it doesn't work out. So I'm telling her all of those things, and but she still loves it, and rightly so. And she's a great girl, and I hadn't seen her for a couple of months because we couldn't travel. And the very minute the lockdown was eased a little bit, I was down to their family, and they were up to me here in Nice. We only live half an hour apart. And she came up last Sunday week, and she stayed the night. And on the Monday, I said to her, "Why don't, now that you're here, before you go home, why don't we sing a song?" So she doesn't have any nerves, or one thing when I was starting out, if somebody said that to me, I might be a bit apprehensive or nervous at the start. But while she's a great girl and all of that, she doesn't have any nerves, which is a great thing. And she said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it," just like that. So we sang "The Parting Glass," which she chose, was delighted about because it's an old Irish song and a great song. It's great to see young people singing those songs still, those iconic songs that were brilliant when they came out first. But she sang that with me at the piano, and people seemed to like it all right.
Excellent, excellent indeed. It's great to see the music travelling down. And needless to say, some of the musical talent from your good self has undoubtedly influenced and rubbed off somewhere along the way.
Well, I suppose, I mean, we're a very tight-knit family, and I suppose my father started me off. He plays the accordion, and he played in small bands around locally, and Kayla bands and all of that kind of thing when we were growing up. So I suppose that rubbed off on me, and now it seems to be going to next generation, which is great.
Indeed, it is. Definitely is. Michael, listen, it's been lovely to chat with you. Lovely to catch up with you. You're definitely filling your time in many numerous ways and discovering new things such as the cooking and the gardening and a whole load of stuff like that in lockdown. And listen, I wish you every success and health to yourself and your family. It's been lovely to catch up with you. It really has.
Well, thanks, Jerry, and thanks to everybody over there. I hope everybody listening, hello to everybody who is listening. I hope that you and your families are well. I know a lot of people have family members and friends who are sick and maybe unfortunately have fallen to this pandemic. But I do wish everybody well. I want to thank everybody for keeping in touch with me throughout this pandemic. Please God, we'll be back when the time is right, and when we see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be the first one back the very minute the restrictions are eased, and when the government decide that it's right to go back, I'll be out there. So in the meantime, thanks to you, Jerry. I mean, I think radio has always been our bread and butter in the music business, but none more so now than ever. And coupled with that, I think people who are going through this pandemic, maybe on their own at home or whatever, the radio in the corner of or the laptop in the corner of the kitchen or wherever is a great source of comfort and companionship. And I think we need that more now than ever. So thanks for all that you do over there, Jerry. Not only down through the years, but especially now. Thanks a million.